join and understand more about mining and get a hands-on experience from industry professionals. And because of that, we've been able to have a lot of people who are still in school, universities, become part of AfriMine as volunteers, come on board to learn as much as they can about the mining industry. And then in terms of mind shifting, it's all about changing the narrative about the mining industry on the continent with regards to regulations, policies, and helping young people really understand what mining is all about, and gaining knowledge and talking to people in the industry who have hands-on experience, who can teach us a lot of things and change the way we perceive the mining industry. And then bridge building, which to me is one of the very, very important ones, because through AfriMine and CIM, we've been able to nurture relationships between people in the industry and people who are still studying or people who are in the early phases of their careers, so that they can have some access to mentorship, to guidance at each and every phase of their career. Okay, so that is that with the pillars of AfriMine. And then moving on, sorry guys, I didn't check. Can you guys see my screen as I move along the presentation?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Anthony, for that. Then we move along to the African operations, the countries in which AfriMine CIN is established on the continent. So it's established in Burkina Faso, Guinea, Ghana, Nigeria, all the way to Congo, South Africa, and Ivory Coast. I'm currently sitting in South Africa, but I'm natively from Zimbabwe. And there is some, I can see that there are some people joining us from Zimbabwe in this session as well. So you can clearly see that it's actually also operating in those countries as well as Zambia as well, because we've had some guests there and we have the community growing there as well. Okay. Up next to the project that AfriMine has been involved in the past. So a couple of years ago, must have been 2020, the Visual Mine Africa pilot project was launched through a partnership that AfriMine has with some sponsors from Russia and Poland to help young people in high schools who've never been exposed to the mining environment to get some exposure to blocks and to understand a bit more about mining machinery, and that was hosted by AfriMine, and this was done in some schools in South Africa in the Mpumalanga province. And then in Ghana and Guinea, AfriMine, through a partnership with Hexagon, secured 100 mining software licenses for the mine planning program. And there were sessions that were held in Ghana and Guinea with regards to training people who were currently studying there, with regards to some exposure to some softwares that were actually being used on a global stage. And this was one of the most successful projects that AfriMine has ever been part of as a partner. And then in the past, AfriMine has had different calibers of different professionals within the mining industry, but all adding values from different parts of the world as well, but coming together as one to share their advice and their experience with the young people and the tribe of AfriMine. And we've been grateful to be have had so many people come along to help support the drive. And then as of 2024, AfriMine has been having sessions as well in AfriMine Francophone CIM, which has been ongoing as a parallel event for the French-speaking countries. All right. And then in the past, AfriMine has attended the mining Indaba through from 2023 to 2026, has been quite an active partner of the African Mining Indaba conference and has had great success in meeting, networking with professionals. And I'm actually very excited about today because I've been honored in the past to actually meet Anthony at one of these events through my exposure with AfriMine. So I'm really grateful for those experiences and all the contributions that AfriMine has afforded me. Okay, and then before we move on to the bread and butter of today, we're just going to have a quick rundown on the possible careers, the possible prospects within the mining industry. We do this all the time so that for first-time, viewers, first-time joiners, can who are not maybe active in the mining industry, can also get an idea of where they can fall with regards to their profession and how they can contribute to Africa's development via the industry. So there's a lot of streams within the mining industry, starting from exploration, geology, where you're basically trying to actually find the resources, estimating reserves to find out where you can actually find the resource to mine. And then after that, there comes the feasibility studies, where consultants get involved to find out if there's value in the prospect. And then there's many more spheres, including radiophysics, geophysics within the mining industry, mine planning. Wherever there's mining, there's always communities. So there's always need for community engagement, people who make sure that mining companies, mining operations actually have the social license to operate, through being in good books with the local community and the government. Following that, there's opportunities for involvement within technology, with the new automated and AI application in mining. There's a chance for people to get involved in technology of the mining industry as mining gets deeper in Africa and as mining moves towards more robot automated machinery. Sorry for that. And then, of course, the environment with the coming up of the tailings management, ensuring that the communities are safe and that people can always stay in the locality of the mining areas without getting damaged or getting sick from the mining in those areas. The environmental specialists who cater for that and ensure that the mining is being done in a sustainable way. And then, of course, there's the business side of mining, and which encompasses, the economics, logistics, production, and all of that. And then today I'm very excited because the guest that we have is actually from the extraction and the processing side. Sorry, Bartholomew, may you please mute your mic. Hello. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, so I'm very excited about today's guest. I'm just going to quickly read his introduction before I put his biography. Okay. As we have a very esteemed guest on our set today, I'm actually honored to have him here, as he's a very, very influential man, and he is one of the people who's very much respectable in the industry. Once again, good evening, everyone. It is my great pleasure to introduce our guest for today's Career Mining Conversation session. Our speaker, Mr. Anthony Anyimadu, is a globally respected metallurgical engineer and minerals processing executive with over 33 years of experience spanning mineral processing, plant operations, research, project development, and executive leadership across the global mining industry. Tony graduated as the top metallurgical engineering student from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology in Ghana before undertaking postgraduate chemical research in chemical engineering at the University of Cape Town. Okay, pause. Guys, just to show me you're there, can you give us a round of applause before we continue? Thank you, thank you, thank you so much, thank you so much. I'm just checking if you guys are following. All right. Throughout his distinguished career, he has held senior technical and executive leadership positions with Anglo American Platinum, Anglo Gold Ashanti, and currently serves as the Global Vice President for Mineral Processing and General Manager for Africa at Amira Global. His expertise spans mineral processing, methodological plant design, process optimization, due diligence, research and development, and technical leadership. He has contributed to major mining projects across Africa, Australia, North and South America, and Europe, while leading global research collaborations involving mining companies and leading universities. Beyond his corporate career, Tony is a respected mentor, lecturer, researcher, and industry leader. He has authored and presented multiple technical papers, served on several international advisory boards, and continues to champion innovation, sustainability, and skills development within the mining industry. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a warm AfriMine welcome to Mr. Tony Anyimadu.
Thank
you.
Thank you very much. You are very kind with your introduction.
Have you on stage.
Thank you, and I'm very happy to meet you all. I think I met some of you at the Indaba 2 years ago, but it's always very good to meet you and have a conversation.
Thank you for that. Okay, so as the audience can't wait, we'll just get straight into it, Mr. Tony. We'd just like to start from where it all began in the early career. And Mr. Anthony, your career spans more than 3 decades, and your influence extends across multiple research operations, academia, and executive leadership. Would like to know what actually first sparked your interest in metallurgical engineering, and when did you realize that mineral processing would become your life's work?
Thank you. Yes, it was maybe serendipity, because before in Ghana, we used to buy the forms for the universities. And for a lot of us, the first time we hear about some of the courses was in sixth form. And so for me, metallurgy was a friend. My roommate had a cousin who had finished metallurgy and was doing great things in his village. So for me, initially, it was really about survival. And that's how I got to know about metallurgy. I filled forms for pharmacy, which I got into. But then the first week in university, we basically did a mini. And I ended up in metallurgy, and I've never regretted since. So it's not a very nice, considered intellectual path. No, it was really serendipitous, which I'm sure there are probably quite a few people who choose careers not really with a big planning behind.
Okay. Thank you for being very honest, Mr. Tony. I appreciate that honesty. And taking us to our next question. While you were studying at the University of Ghana, you actually graduated as the top metallurgical engineering student, and later pursued postgraduate research in chemical engineering at UCT. Looking back on those experiences, how did that early academic experience shape you in becoming the professional you are today?
Very much influence from those two universities. Remember, for those of you who are not aware, those days in Ghana, which is 89, 90, there was only one university in Ghana that could offer engineering. So the the screening was quite extreme. And my friends in India and China tell me the same thing, that the number of applicants versus the places that people can get is quite extreme as well. But so when we went there, it was really academic and quite serious, and it was very refreshing, but at the same time challenging through KNU. At that time, it was called UST, University of Science and Technology, and then later on, the name changed to Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. But that was very, very good, and a lot of friendships and bonding started there. Then I went to UCT. That was very, very interesting in a different way. This is 95, just about 6 to 8 months after South Africa's independence. And so it was very, very exciting. Those of you who have been to UCT, if you go to the Jemison Stairs, at that time, you had all sorts of people from everywhere, from Dominican Republic, from Holland, from Germany. And in chemical engineering, for example, as a postgraduate, we used to have a Friday. Every Friday, everybody would bring drinks, alcohol from their home country, and then we would share, and then we would, after the hard week's work, we would go to Ladano and play beach volleyball and so on. So this was exciting. The study was good, but the comradeship was also very good. And for the first time, to answer your question, it started broadening the horizons quite a lot, in literal and in many different ways. So it's very, very good experience as part of my early career. And because at that time, UCT Chemical Engineering had a very good consulting department in the mineral processing and in catalysis and those. The interaction with the industry, especially in the mines, in Lonmin, Impala, Anglo, was quite strong. And that picked the interest of the consulting type, but not just desktop sitting at the back kind of consulting, but interaction with what real numbers and real equipment and those sort of things like. So I'm really grateful for that experience too. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tony, for that take. Yeah, it really sounds like the atmosphere, the landscape has changed so much from the time you were around to now. But otherwise, on Mr. Tony, when I was reading your biography and getting to craft these questions, I realized that you spoke about the importance of combining youthful innovation with the experience. And I wanted to ask you, with regards to the time when you were actually young, did you see yourself entering the industry with those qualities from the first day, or something that you developed as you went along?
You mean entering the mining industry?
Yes, your professional career.
Yeah, good, very good question. I was not 100% sure, but again, after UCT, I would just tell you a short story of what happened, how I got into Anglo-American straight from UCT. So we were giving presentations we used to do in postgraduate at the Lord Charles Hotel in Somerset West. I remember very well so I was giving a presentation on some topic, reagents for flotation. And it went very well, thanks to my supervisors and so on, the late D. Bradshaw and Professor Cyril O'Connell. So after the interaction and the discussion, one guy, Sandy Lambert, who used to be the chief consultant metallurgist for Anglo Platinum in those days, he came to me straight, and his question was, do you want a job? After the presentation, and I said, of course I want a job. And he says, okay, when can you start? That's things were a little bit different those days, because the number of skilled people who could actually solve a problem were not many. And apparently, unbeknown to me, the thing I was talking about was exactly what they had a problem with at about 3 of their plants in terms of pyrrhotite and pentlandite and slow flotation and all those things. So It was almost as if it was arranged. So to answer your question again, it wasn't something I sat down and thought through and said, okay, I'll go here, go here. No, it was just, I was in the right place at the right time and probably gave a good, impressive presentation. So he just came and said, can you come and help us? And that's how it started. So I wasn't given a chance to decide whether I was going to any distillation or petrol or no. It just almost like the mining I was guided into the mining. And I must say again that I've never regretted. Yeah.
Wow. Fantastic stuff, Mr. Anthony. Guys, may you please give Anthony a round of applause. Thank you. Okay. Moving on to our next question, Anthony. Now we're seeing that you went on to actually build, a world-class career. And I wanted to know that, your career has taken you from research laboratories, plant operations, technical leadership, and now, global executive leadership. You've worked across almost every stage of mineral processing value chain, And was this progression intentional, or did opportunities just naturally come your way like this first one?
Okay, here for the first time, there was a little bit of intentionality to it.
Okay.
I started at the Anglo Research Center. At that time, it was called Amplas Research Center in Jemison in Barbara Road, before Anglo Research translated in and joined the current one in Crown Mines, for those of you who know in Johannesburg. So I started there for the first 3-4 years. And then, but from there, we were supporting all the other time, about 15 operations for Anglo Platinum. And then I realized very quickly that in truth and in perception, if you just came straight from the university and you were consulting, the interaction was like, you've not really paid your dues, or you've not got yourself dirty, so to speak. What that was implying was that your numbers, your assumptions, what you think is a reasonable number can be a little bit academic. There was a little bit of truth to that. So I intentionally, after 4 years, raised up my hand and say, can you send me to one of the operations? And then people were looking at me like, are you crazy? People are always running from the operations in the village, in the small towns, back to Johannesburg, which was part of the corporate office. And you want to go to the other way. I said, yeah, no, I want to go to the operations. So I went to Leboa Platinum at the moment. So those who know Limpopo. And then I said, and I had the hindsight of the entire group's numbers and systems and flow sheets. And second, ability to solve things from the technical point of view. So when I went to Leboa, I had some good metallurgists, James Baloy, a few people, and I pulled them together and galvanized them. And in very quick way, we started adding efficiency and throughput and all those things, because I had the hindsight of seeing it done in many places before. So for me, for my career, it was typically the opposite of many people's career. I started at the corporate office at the research, and then went to the operations. So thankfully, or maybe out of a bit of hard work and grace from God, we added value. So at that time, the technical director, Michael Head, said he doesn't understand why, because he saw the value add that we had done. And Leboa was one of the smallest mines, even though it was a very high grade. So he said he doesn't understand why one of our best metallurgists is in the smallest plant. So he pushed me to Amandelbult. So only 18 months after Leboa, I got a promotion to Amandelbult. Amandelbult, you need to give me 3 minutes to talk about Amandelbult. It used to be an exciting place. Amandelbult was the single biggest platinum production in the whole world in 2004. We had 2 open casts. We had 1 Marinsky and 1 UG2. And it was producing literally by itself close to 37% of the global production of PGMs. So there again, I got some very, very competent chemical engineers, metallurgists, chemists, Vusi Matlangu, Chax Machaka, the few that and I galvanized them, mentored them, and then we started with survey, with modeling, with simulation, with all the tools that I saw UCT use. UCT was part of the Amara P9. Amara is where I am now. I'll come to that later. But I had seen that the tools and the things that they use to add value. So again, you can imagine a place like that with such high throughput and high grade. We started going to action, plant by plant, and gradually, sustainably moved recoveries up. So obviously, the bosses in Johannesburg were very happy. So again, 18 months there later, then I got promotion to technical manager, and we continued. And then I started looking after Rustenburg and Union section, which is a SWAT clip for those of you who know South Africa. And then again, 18 months after that, 18 months used to be, I don't know, a special number where I used to get promotion. So 18 months after that, I went to Johannesburg, back to Johannesburg as a group technical manager for, in other words, all the technical superintendents and managers of the various operations had a dotted line to me. And that was relatively quite quick. So the whole thing was probably 5 years span. I had just moved from a normal senior metallurgist in the research lab, and I had gone into the operation. Thank God, made a bit of impact, and then had come back to Johannesburg. It was quite a quick. That was a fast acceleration, and then from then on, it tapered and he started going. So yes. So what I would really want to encourage all of you is, whichever place you start, just take the best of the place and then use it to where you are. It doesn't matter if it is not a conventional career or it is not everybody's normal direction. Just take the best you can take from that place, no matter how boring or whatever it is, and then use it in the places and then go. Because as you output and as you have energy and as you are innovative, people are looking at you, and at number one. And then number two, don't try and do it alone. Just let everybody around you also benefit to actually grow because you have interaction with them. And that, so you can see my excitement with when I'm talking about Amandabot, because in terms of production career, that was probably the highlight. I mean, we were just minting money those days. So 2% extra recovery was something ridiculous, like $1.4 million per month in additional revenue or something like that. So it was really, really great. Yeah.
Fantastic stuff, Mr. Anthony. Fantastic stuff. That's some great knowledge that you got there, and some encouraging words, for the guys who maybe like me wanted to go to the mining, from the beginning, but ended up maybe in the consulting space. Guys who wanted to get the conventional route, like you have said, Mr. Anthony. I'm very grateful for that. Advice. I'll take it and I'll hide it in heart. And guys, wherever you're joining from, I'd encourage you guys to keep a notebook and a pen, or maybe an iPad if you are using digital. But notebook and a pen normally gets everything done as well. Moving on to the next question, Mr. Anthony. From a bio, we learned that you've worked across multiple projects. Africa, Europe. Everywhere you've had your hand somewhere, so advisory, advice, consulting work. And I just wanted to find out, if in all of this work you did come to some universal values that you learned as you worked on different projects, or universal lessons that you worked, like you can say that this works everywhere. This is a work for me everywhere, in every part of my career, everywhere around the world as well.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good question, but a big one. It's I think what advice I can give is, at the moment, if you are a professional where you are in junior management or middle management and you want to go up, or you are starting your career, one of the best skills. So one of the common things that works is be a nice person to work with.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't sound very intellectual, but it's very true. Don't be unnecessarily difficult to work with. That's the first thing I would say. And the reason that is even more so now is because the way we do projects, let me start with projects, is that it's done by what we call combined assurance, which means processing people are there, mining people are there, geologists are there, commercial are there, financial people are there, sustainability, health, government relations. So in all these different expertise areas, it's a confluence. So speak your truth in a way that is palatable, Don't try and understand where people are coming from. And even if what they are trying to venture into is not completely correct, don't just be too harsh and cut them down, just to make people know that that is the first thing. And I'm saying this because in those sort of combined assurance kind of role, it's quite tempting to say, you are wrong, you are correct, you are wrong, that kind of thing. So it sounds like a small attribute, but it's a very big attribute these days. And that same thing applies to whether you are the client in the mining company and therefore the project people are working for you, or you are the project people who are working for the clients, the producing companies. Try and be nice. So that's the first thing. Second thing is you were asking for universal things that work all the time. Know your staff. Identify the key non-negotiables. I could give you non-negotiables for, say, mineral processing design for flotation or for comminution, but please try and get the key non-negotiables. Let me just use 1 minute to say use mineral processing, for example, as an example. If you wanted to design a proper flow sheet for mineral processing, then one of the very first non-negotiable is to know what kind of material is it. You cannot be designing, you just go straight crashing, grinding, whatever, when you haven't seen the material type, the material mineralogy, but not just for the first year, but for the life of mine. So that I'm just using, I know I'm getting technical, but I'm just using it to explain the point that the key non-negotiable is, are you designing the plant for the material type at hand? Or have you just gone straight to do cut and paste from some flow sheet you saw? So non-negotiable is right things, right tools for the tools are there. You can use them for 1,000 different ways, but are you pragmatically and wisely using it for what is needed? So that's what I mean by non-negotiable. So that one is universal. Don't be too quick to get accepted or get in. Just don't lose your own individual thinking a little bit. So be circumspect in the job at hand, and don't be, at the moment, it's very, very tempting to just cut and paste as fast as you can bring it, and then you say you are the smart one. No, use the tools. That's another point. There's a lot of tools, use them, but the tools don't replace the thinking, the bridge between the chemistry, the mineralogy, and the engineering of the metallurgy, for example. They don't replace it. Just, you can be fastly and efficiently wrong. If the context is wrong, you can be very, very efficient and gathering the data and whatever, but you'll still be wrong. It will still be the wrong advice over the long term for the mine, for example. So that's a third non-negotiable. Then a fourth one is remember that every profession has its strengths and weaknesses and challenges and disappointments. So I think this one is not just mineral processing or chemical engineering or mechanical engineering or whatever. This one, I think, is a universal concept. That don't look down on your profession too much, because if if you take it and you actually make the best of it, you'll be surprised. You'll be paid well, you have satisfaction, you do. So there are some people who actually wanted to be, say, medical doctors, but they ended up in engineering. And for the rest of their life, they look back. What could have happened? So here, I think I'm just probably putting on as a hat as a 60-year-old man advising the younger generation that whatever profession you end up in, take it seriously and thank God for it and do the best. And you'll be surprised how fulfilling it can be. So don't always look back and say what could have been and do. I know that is quite non-technical, but it's still quite important. Yeah. Those are some of the, if you ask me other series of questions, I could use some case studies and examples to illustrate some of the other points as our conversations go ahead. But I'll stop there in terms of generic. But please, whatever you do, you should know your stuff. Don't understand the concepts that matter. What's the link between geology and the concept of liberation, concept of kinetics, concept of thermodynamics, the things, some of the concepts that you hated at university or higher, please revise them, because those are actually the links that make the job very nice and easy and enjoyable. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tony, for that. Just out of interest to our audience, are there any metallurgical engineers in the audience? Any extraction professionals? Please show by raising a hand. Okay. Okay.
Nope. Oh, okay.
That's fine.
Can I understand the background of most of the people here so I can taper my talk to that? I have a lot of case studies and examples, so I will make sure. So how many engineers, other engineers are here, and how many finance people are here?
Okay, so basically, most of our audience, there's actually two metallurgical engineers in the house, three now. But most of the guys are geologists and mining engineers.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to believe. Yeah. Okay. No, that's fine. Thanks, Christian. Yeah, for that.
Excellent. Then the mining engineers wouldn't have been completely lost yet. So it's good to know.
I'm with you with that one. I'm 100% with you.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Software engineer. Good. It's good to know. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's great. That's great. Thanks, Grace, for that. Okay. And guys, you're free to post questions in our question and answer. I don't know if you guys have seen the link. Yeah, we actually have someone joining from Armando here, Mr. Anthony, maybe.
Wow.
And after the
good stuff.
Good stuff, I tell you. Okay, great. Moving on to the next question. It's more on the technical side. I'm actually very keen, to know more about, operating plants and extraction. And maybe in a simple layman's way, what would you say separates a good plant from a world-class plant from a plant that is not giving output as it's supposed to be?
That's an excellent question. That's an excellent question. If you're a plant manager or even a mine manager, your stability is your friend. Stable operation. A stable operation, even if it's in the wrong zone, at least you'll be able to measure it and then move it to the right zone. But an unstable operation, you don't know what is fact and what is noise. So a stable operation in the plant means you have good maintenance engineers, you have good instrumentation people, the plant is ready to be run properly. Then you can move it. From my experience, I have had example after example, many, many examples of that, where people don't stabilize the plant or the mine and they try to be too clever and they move from optimum zone to not suboptimal. And when you add all those and you integrate it, it's always below a stable plant. So a stable plant, there's no question about it. And the stability can be run in material, starting with the mining engineers, bringing the the good stuff. Stability could be in the type of material. Stability could be in the hardness. Stability will be in grade. But there are some of those things which you can't control up to the finest. For example, my mates who are mining engineers will tell you, the metallurgist, just keep quiet and deal with whatever grade we do. Don't worry, that's a beer bar talk that we do. So we understand where that comes from. In other words, what they are saying is really, if you have gone down deep and you've been in those little stops with your bum on the floor, you will stop complaining about grade not being exact.
You must make it happen in your plans.
Yeah, they have to make a plan. And I agree with them, because the first time I went to South Africa, the underground deep mines in South Africa, I as soon as I got out, I said, thank God I don't have to come here every day. That's so back to your question, stability as fast as you can get it, or as long as you can get it, is the best. And the reason is because almost every unit in processing likes stability. There are some which are more forgiving than others. There is, for example, flotation, which is very finicky, and if you are unstable, it's gone to the tails. There's another one which maybe has 24 to 48 hours residence time, like leaching, where a little bit of perturbation, it will forgive you eventually, because you have many chances to get, and even there, you're not supposed to be doing carbon, whatever, all those things. So that's, if you forget everything I've said, stability. Stability also means not a plant superintendent who just goes and keeps on changing set points every day. And this I saw, I don't know if it still happens now, but in those days, 2007, 2002, then some of the operators were so superstitious that when they finish their shifts and another person comes, that person, the first thing he does not even look at the results. He just keeps on go around the changing reagent set points, whatever, almost as if we can operate on the other person's set points, for example. That was very, very bad. And we had to, in some plants, I won't mention their name, I had to call it in strong order and the threat of final warning and whatever. So we started, then you say, if you take that away, then that means that you have to get a more scientific operating targets for them to do it. So stability is key. And then following the stability is taking advantage of information. In my days when I was starting, it was information as in you go, you make a plan, you cut the samples, the key samples, you analyze them, you model it, you put in the simulation, and then you recommend a region for operation. And that, as I have told you, could add a lot of value. 2-3% recovery increase, throughput. And just those mining engineers, software engineers, processing mets and stuff, you would know that sometimes some of the equipment which don't cost a lot, like cyclones, can mess you up big time. You know, people typically look after the mill, which is very expensive. They look after the things that are expensive, but almost psychologically, they don't look at little paraphernalia like screens and cyclones. And those can mess you up big time. If you sort out your things that serve you, the main plant, it can add 15-20% extra throughput easily. And I've seen it before and done some before. So that is a second thing, that take advantage of information. And just to conclude that point, so that the person that wants to ask the question can ask, by that same point, the end of it currently is that these days there's so much faster ways of getting information. There's data processing which has gone hyperbolic, that if you have the right process control elements and you can collect data, you can process it faster and bring it back into the process control, so that you don't just use it to explain good and bad behavior after it has already happened, but actually you can use it to hopefully participate in the process control and get some value. I think one of your colleagues wants to ask a question. Is it Charity?
Yes. I think
Sorry.
and
Sorry, I think it was cutting, or was it just my connection that is not clear? Tal, can you moderate that? I couldn't hear what the person said. Hello?
Can you hear me now, Anthony?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Anthony, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. I think I was saying, you know, for now we can just attend to them.
Okay. I think after we finish, we can deal with all the questions. And if I can't hear you well, please write it in there, and then I'll happily answer it. So back to you, Tal.
Okay. Is it better now?
Yes.
I think okay. So
Can anybody hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello.
I think the moderator's connection is gone a little bit. I can't hear what he's saying.
I think I'll just jump in quickly to assist.
Okay.
I thank you, Anthony, for the conversations you've shared with us so far. And just to assist, I'll just go into the question and answer directly and read some of the questions for you to provide answers to. So I'll start with one from Yonela. He or she's asking, as we know that in South Africa, there is a high rate of unemployment in mining engineering or a good career path, which will give us stable jobs. Do you think as time goes on, the mines will be closed or minerals will end up resulting to people who will be closed or will end resulting to people who studied these degrees unemployed?
Great question.
Mhm.
The answer is no. And the answer is mining engineering will morph like any other engineering. It will take advantage of the data processing proficiency that is available, number one. So people will start identifying, using a lot of technology. We will start doing things like in situ mining, in situ leaching. We will start doing things like grade engineering. We would start being selective sometimes right at the mine phase. So mining engineering will still be very useful. You know why? Because as they say, whatever is not grown has to be mined. So human beings will still need mining. So, but the profession itself will start becoming, like most professions, will start becoming more and more technological. And I think it's already happening. So mining engineering, geology as well. Geology, hyperspectral, lot of algorithms to actually deal with thousands of Dracos data at the same time and make a decision. Those sort of things are coming. It's already coming in, and I actually think we should welcome it rather than be scared of it. So mining engineer will always be there, but the mining engineer 10, 20 years to come will be more productive and so on. Same if I start with mineral processing, we will not go today. It's the key areas of technology because of Amara and because we put together about 50 research associations across the globe. So I see what people are dealing with and what they are researching in. So yes, to answer your question, is it Jody, that mining engineer is still useful. I will just use one more example. I was looking at one of the talks about AI and which jobs it was going to cut. And one of the jobs that they said it will cut very quickly was radiology. You know, the doctors that read scans. And yet, even though AI is really enhancing the correctness or the accuracy of reading radiology scans, there's now more the need for radiologist doctors rather than less. So that makes you think that it becomes so efficient, and yet you need more because now everybody wants it. Because why they've reduced that error gap. So precision and diagnosis has become more, and creating more and moving into areas where they didn't have radiology before. Why? Because if the technology is available, why shouldn't the whole population have it? So it's counterintuitive. Mine engineer will never stop for the next, foreseeable future. Okay, I'll stop there.
Thank you. Tom will continue from here.
Thank you so much, Mr. Toby, for helping me on that. I just wanted to confirm with you, Anthony, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you clearly now.
Okay, thank you. Very sorry about that, Anthony. My network dropped for a moment there.
No problem.
But thank you so much for your patience. Thank you so much, Mr. Toby, for stepping in. I really appreciate it. So the question I was actually asking you before my network dropped, Anthony, was, with regards to the collaboration in the consulting industry with regards to innovation. And I wanted to know, like, looking ahead, what innovations do you believe will have the greatest impact on mineral processing over the next decade?
Oh, fantastic. I have led a few innovations myself, so those are one of the nicest questions you can ask me because I get a chance to talk about something I'm passionate about. You see, not all innovation deals with new insight, new technology, new mathematics, new chemistry. No, a lot of innovation actually is appropriating what is already available and use it in a very, very efficient way. So I'll give you one example to illustrate that. For example, when I was in Amandabelt, you see, I'm happy there are some geologists and mining engineers here too. The PGM occurrence is normally carried by sulfides, copper sulfides, nickel sulfide, nickel iron sulfide, so-called pentlandite and pyrrhotite and chalcopyrite. When it is at that level, you can get a few percentages of sulfur, or at least 0.08 sulfur. So you can get it in percentages. That's important. I'm going somewhere with that. Why that is important is because at that time, there was the technology to at least measure fast something preponderance of about, say, 1% or 2%. Unlike if you want to measure gold or PGMs, which you have to go parts per million. And therefore, the speed with which it's moving, you can't get it. So what am I saying? I'm saying that we appropriated a little bit of the knowledge of the geology with the preponderance of the metal association, and then we measured it to do what? Next level. We were doing flotation, so we crush, we grind, we add chemicals, we skim the the good stuff on top, the so-called concentrate. So when you do that, and then we measure the sulfides and the nickel and the copper, we use that as the proxy to say how much platinum, PGMs, platinum group metals is in there. And when you do that, you basically use the proxy to link it to what you want. So why is that important? It's exciting. Why? Because then you pull more when there's very high grade and you pull less when there's low grade. And by that little manipulation of the mass pool, so-called, you're able to add about 2% extra recovery. So I don't know if I've been able to explain it to make it as exciting to you as it is to me. In other words, if you hadn't done that, you would have gone and slept, come back the following morning and say, oh, the grade was up and down, but it had gone, everything is gone to the tails. You didn't take advantage of the grade which went up and down. You would have set your set point and said, whatever comes, pull 5% of it. But there were times you could have pulled 7% of it. But you see it from the hourly results that, damn, but it's gone to the tails. So this is innovation proper in my book. That is innovation proper. But everything that all the assumptions and the links were already there. We just pulled it together. And then you say, but how do you pull more? Yes, that's another innovation. That's you use the level, you use the air, you use the water, and that is so-called hydrodynamic, which was also a part of research by itself. So I appropriated about 3 or 4 key research, pulled them together. So that means you need instrumentation chemist, you need a geologist, you need a metallurgist, you need an analytical chemist. And then you pull it together, and then you are basically manipulating and put a little bit of algorithms in there, and so you cut up and down boundary. So that is exciting, because that tells you put in your understanding of the science and the geology and so on, and you are taking advantage of it. That's one example. Let me add another one for innovation in mineral processing. Ore sorting. Again, it's a project we did with Obuasi, one of the Anglo Gold Ashanti mines in Obuasi. Again, almost like nature set itself up almost ideally. Why? Again, geology involved, mining involved, mineral processing involved, chemistry involved, technology involved. The geology is, so you go to underground in Obuasi that time, and you see there's 2 forms of formation, or whatever the term the geologists call it. The one is like milk, it's quartz, it's milky. The other one is serpentine and green, and all the dirty stuff is greenish black. That is sulfides. The milky one was quartz, like a South African ore. So you go there, it's like night and day. So typically, what do? They drill everything, they blast everything, and then they all have to go through the very, very expensive, long process. What is that? Scratch, grind, flotation, oxidation by biox, using biox to oxidize it, leaching, all very heavy energy and chemical intensive. So what did we do? We went and we said, okay, you know what? You blast like you blast, we will crush it, secondary crusher, we will wash it, and then you put an ore sorter. The ore sorter will be fluorescent. In other words, when it sees the milky gray one, it flow, and then it will push it out. When it's black and serpentine and whatever, it will go through the current expensive route. You do that over life of mine, you make, I will not even mention the amount of money. It's amazing. And the more the people dig deep underground, the more they actually have a lot more of the material in the sulfur, in the gray quartz, which is the quicker route to get your gold. It's less reagents. It's basically win all around. That you haven't thrown away any part of the mined material, but you have just separated the processing route because of their attribute of color. And so the technology, where we went to Germany to get the electrophoresis, and then once you wash it properly, 98% recovery potential of getting the quartz to itself and letting the sulfides go through. If you lose a little bit of the quartz to the sulfide, it doesn't matter. That's what used to happen in the old days anyway. What you don't want is the sulfides to come into the court. But to do that and get its own much cheaper route, when I say much cheaper, 40% cheaper route, you can, the energy you save, and for me, those kind of things excite me. So that's another innovation. But again, what do? You go into what is already available. The German people that were supplying the electrophoresis machine, they're already using it to separate food and so on, and many, many different things. So you appropriate it and fit it in with your understanding. If you think like that, there's almost endless means of innovation that you can do. Not all innovation has to be new science. I'll stop there.
Thank you for that, Mr. Anthony. Guys, a round of applause for Mr. Anthony. Please show us some, please show him the AfriMine way. Thank you, guys. Please, a round of applause. Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Anthony, for that, for that point. Actually, just because of our time, Mr. Anthony, we're going to move on to the next part of our interview, just to get to know you a little bit more. I'm very keen, and I mean, everyone is keen to engage with you some more. I think it'd be great if maybe if we have a link to your publications that you can also follow up on, and get to know some more about the innovation that you've done, and the projects that you've undertaken, and the cost cutting measures that you've implemented to make a lot of money for these operations. But moving forward, Mr. Anthony, we'd just like to know that, we've spoken a bit more about your career and your experience, and we'd just like to know, a little bit about the person behind the profession, after so much work, and all your involvement in the industry, we want to know if you have any hobbies, any things that interest you away, from mineral processing and mining.
Okay, that's a good question. Yes, my friends will say maybe my hobby is having babies because I've got so many of them. I play the guitar. I used to play in church. I used to play soccer when I could those days.
Okay.
What's my other hobby? I like collaboration. So I pull a lot of, so I like to see collaboration, especially across Africa, but also across the globe. That's a hobby. I mean, it's not necessarily work. And then lastly, I try and get involved in the community as well. Both in Ghana and in South Africa, in Bedfordview and where I am part. I still some Sunday afternoons attend some of the meetings. So that's, I watch. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. It's
okay.
Anthony, I'm just muting some mics. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that's my hobby. I like. If I wasn't an engineer, I probably would be a historian. I've always enjoyed history, especially contemporary history. So so my little kids would say, yeah, Dad, if you don't see him watching the news, he's watching the what do you call it? The Curiosity Channel.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. No, that's fine, Mr. Anthony. And just to move on, as we come to a close of today's session, which has been quite amazing and very, very impactful to me with regards to the way I think and the way I see mineral processing as an industry. We just want to know, sorry. Okay. What final advice, you would offer to the engineers and the professionals that have joined today? I know you've spoken about stability already, but what do you think would be impactful going as chicken shake industry?
Okay, that I missed the last bit of the question, but let me give one advice to the people in terms of their own personal growth, as well as one advice on the technology landscape. So So for the personal growth, I think investigate some things that you are interested in with the end in mind. For what helped me, and that may help somebody also, is if I was successful at this game or this effort, what would the end look like? Please try and ask yourself those questions. So whatever endeavor, don't do and expect that something could come out of it. Just start with the end in mind and say, this thing I've been doing, if I'm successful, what would success look like? What would the end look like? And then come back from there. Because that helps you to screen and actually stop some of the things that won't add much value. But how do you know what the end would look like? Well, you speak to people, do your own research, but also speak to people, have an idea. And even when you speak to people, still filter what they say, including what I'm telling you. Filter for yourself, customize it for yourself. So that I would say there are just so many. So currently I'm trying to do some things for some people, and I'll mention it, their name and the plant and whatever. But we were having some discussion. I said, no, hold on. What are we looking for? What is the end results? Because if you try and start from the left, in metallurgy, you could change 1,000 different parameters. But let's start from the end there and come back, and then throw away 60% of the effort and stick with the ones. And I'm using the same, I'm advising you on the same thing. Start with what's a successful career looks like for you. Is it as a technical director of a global company? Is it as an ownership of your own mining company or metallurgical or software company? Is it CEO operations? So I'm mentioning one operation, I'm mentioning one technology, I'm mentioning one entrepreneurial. So first find out what kind of person you are. There are some people who will never be good entrepreneurs because they are not interested. They just want to be a CEO of a big mining company. That's fine too. They can be very successful at it. So find out which of that are you or which combination you are, and then work backwards from it. And select your mentor and deselect. So select and deselect. So that would be the advice in terms of personal growth. In Anglo Gold Ashanti, or in actually Anglo Platinum, one thing that we put there that I saw a lot of positive outcomes, and I'll tell you what the positive outcomes is. It was called the AGDP, Advanced Graduate Development Program. It wasn't a university master's or anything like that. It was actually, we pulled the people together and had an 18-month program for them with different paths, different aspects. I tell you, those people that were trained, that went through that program, 6 years later, they were the general managers of almost all the platinum mining companies. Almost hardly would you find, so from Limpopo, from whatever, from Rastamek, almost 80-90% of them all went through that AGDP. And that, to answer your second question, was concerted, because what that does is that it gives you confidence. It makes you know what is important in the industry. It makes you faster access with the executives in the industry. So that kind of confidence builds you up and you become efficient. So that's what I would advise you. So even further studies, you select it very well, because it's your time and energy and resource. Select what you need. So if I can, so that AGDP was, for me, looking at the outcome, and I could count easily 7 people who became the senior process managers and the general managers, and they all went through the AGDP. And it was relatively quick. When I was starting my career, to get to that level, you would need like 25, 30 years. These guys went through there like 7 years, and they could do the job because they had short-circuited the whole experience. So that's good. And then, last but not the least, is please invest a bit into the conferences and workshops in whatever field you are, because you never know. In my experience, sometimes even just the person coming from a different geography, South America, you'll be surprised that they may think differently. Europe, whatever, mix it up a bit, get into the things. And lastly, because I'm sort of just technical in nature, I will encourage you to collect data wherever you are working and write papers. Collect data. It's the cheapest and easiest to collect data. Just write out this, find out some hypotheses or questions to solve and write with your bosses or with yourself or with your people working for you or whatever. So get yourself involved. Just like you are enhancing your operational or management career, also don't be left out with the technical part of it. I'll stop there. Ted.
Thank you so much, Mr. Anthony, for that. And really appreciate you coming to the stage today, Mr. Anthony. This is not our first time. It's not my first time seeing you. We've had the chat before at the mining in Daba. And, I'm very, very glad that we had a chance to engage today. And before we formally close this session, I'll just quickly go to the chat box and check one or two questions that we have from the members in our audience who I'm sure were burning with enthusiasm as the session was going on. Okay, so we have Paul Modise, who has currently seeking employment available to support boiler makers, mechanical fitters, or site teams. He's from Brisbane Northwest. Can I ask maybe if Elijah or Talat is here to be in touch with Mpo so that maybe we can, have communication between Mpo and Mr. Anthony if it is any way grateful for that. And then there's Nathaniel Osei, who's a mine geologist in Ghana, and he has just remarked that New Zealand mineral processing is making him reconsider his geology choice. And he's very interested in geometallurgy. And his question is, how can he improve his skill set? How can I improve my interest in geometallurgy in a place where that skill is not so needed at the moment?
Yeah, that's geometallurgy is on everybody's lip at the moment because it's really, in the old days, the geometallurgy was mine to mill. Blast finer, get some currency in energy saving in the mill. That used to be the geometallurgy, but these days it's much more strategic and we used to do quite a lot of. So if you are interested in geometallurgy, I would advise you, please keep it, pursue it. It's very, very important because geometallurgy allows you to selectively deal with sections of the plant or the material the way it's supposed to be done. It starts all the way from the geological drill core and the plan there, and then mine plan, and then to the metallurgy itself. So it's coming in full way. There will be a point where I predict that the general investment community will get hold of it, and then they will start asking people the same way they ask for safety for projects. In other words, if you want your project to be priced properly, they look at the safety as well as the productivity. Geometallurgy is coming because once the general investors know that geometallurgy is a careful look at whatever the endowment you've got and then said, don't waste energy, don't waste chemicals, don't waste water, all of which are answers to geometallurgy. It will start becoming part of it. So stick in there. And if you need somebody to talk to geometallurgy, I think Taliat can give you my number. Was that Charles who asked the question? You can link, you can, after this discussion, you can actually link my email to there. So the geometallurgy in particular, the person can get hold of me. Whether they are geologist or mining engineer or metallurgist today, they can get hold of me.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. Anthony. I really appreciate it. And then another question from Matthias James is from Nigeria. And his question is, from your perspective as a mining expert, what needs to happen for Nigeria's solid mineral sector to attract sustained local and international investment? Do you have any business collaborations in Nigeria? Thank you.
Good question, but I'll answer as far as I know things from Nigeria. I met your geological survey president in the environment exploration managers conference that Amira hosted in London 2 years ago. So I got that link. And then my second link in Nigeria was the Women in Mining. That I think I had a one session with them before. So I'm definitely interested in Nigeria, but I don't know enough about what is happening or not happening to fully answer that question. But if you are from Nigeria, you can link up and then we can look at it. On the consulting level, friends of mine have gone there twice to do some feasibility for gold. So I know there's quite a bit of gold in Nigeria, except it's not been, news around it hasn't been as high as the oil for of course. But I know things are happening in Nigeria, and you actually have quite a lot of deposits. Yeah.
And then our last question from our audience is from Charity Chibwe. Hi, I'm just starting my career in mineral processing. What projects can I take up in flotation to make an impact? I am on a graduate program.
Repeat the second part of the question about flotation.
Okay, what projects can I take up in flotation to make an impact? I am on a graduation program.
Okay, what projects? I'm trying to think big impacts, big impacts, something that will give you quick impact. Effect of grind. If effect of grind will be good. I know it's been steady till death, but still steady it for your material. So effect of grind will be good. Currently, if you also want alternative flotation reagents, it has green credentials. So that would also be good if you're looking for a project. So instead of the usual xanthate, can you get access to alternative flotation reagents? That will also be good. And then in terms of the modeling and control, if you are from a plant or you're a mine that actually has a little bit of a complex circuit, could your project help to simplify it, especially if it's not been built yet? If the mine has already been built, then collecting data around the circuit and doing simulation around it and suggesting better ways. What that will do is if it will either give you efficiency or it will help reduce the operating cost, because they will know they will know the almost optimum routes and selection. Again, Talia, put my email there, and if it's flotation, and if I know a little bit more of the material type, whether it's copper, one of those difficult copper ores, with very, very complicated mineralogy, then you can be a star very quickly. You can look through it and then we can advise you more specifically. So the more challenging the circuit or the material, the more you can be a hero very quickly.
Okay. Thank you for that, Anthony. And Anthony, for our last question of the day, today I'm going to take it from Toby because our minute is about to close in 5 minutes. We are actually 25 minutes overboard, but it's, for me, it's not a problem. I've been having quite a very, 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 very insightful experience, and I'm really grateful for that once more. So the question from Toby is, when you said I got some people together and mentored them, were these people your junior colleagues, newbies, or just friends?
Sorry, you were a little bit, you said the people I've mentored.
Yes, were your junior colleagues, new employees, or friends?
Oh, all of the above. The people that I mentored earlier on in my career, they are, when I meet them in the mall and then they call me, they are excited and they call me, and then my children say, "Are you sure you are older than that guy?" Some of them are big people. I think the oldest guy I mentored was one guy, I won't mention his name, who became one of the CEOs of ESCOM. I will not mention his name. But right from those days to Rustenburg area people who are general managers and so on. And then even still, I'm still mentoring people now. So I would say I have had different generations of mentees. and I still enjoy mentoring people. So some have decided, some have actually left mining and are doing other things with banking and insurance, but a lot of them are still in mining, but at the entrepreneurial end of it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Fantastic stuff. And then just to wrap up with that question, what do you with the colleagues that saw you as a threat because of how efficient you were at delivering results?
It's a very that's a, do you want the truth or do you want the politically correct answer? I know you will make a podcast of this. So you see, every I'm sure you've already would have seen it. Just have a positive attitude. There are people, just a quick example to illustrate it, knowing where our time is going now. It's that there were even, they don't even have to be colleagues. They can even be bosses who actually can see your potential and think, if I don't make this guy stay where he is, he may take my job. But maybe anybody who is gifted is actually not looking at their boss's job. They are looking probably at 3 levels higher. So sometimes a lot of that is, yeah, that's the point. So for example, when my Afrikaans wasn't good, not that it is that good now, the whole meetings will be done in Afrikaans. They will turn around and say, what do you think? And then I will lose my head. So, and those were strategies in the mid-90s to try and make sure you feel like you don't belong, type of thing. And on the other hand, there has been people who basically just encourage you right from day one. So you always get the both of them. But if you already have your plans, personal plans, don't let it. I think those get you a bit stronger. If you have a friend, a close friend or a partner, then they can become a psychologist for you, and you can download on them. So I understand. Mining itself can be quite stressful, but it's also a very enjoyable industry. So I know I've gone round and round and not answered it directly, but I'm saying, trust me, I've had my own fair share of people who find all sorts of reasons to call it something else, but you know that it's a threat, but navigate it. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Anthony. Our call will drop anytime from now because it's set to end at 7:30. But really thank you, and we will share your details with our audience so that we can also catch up with you guys. Please do follow him on LinkedIn and also chat him up on LinkedIn as well. But we will share your email as well, or any contact details that you feel comfortable with us sharing, Mr. Anthony. And
Yes.
to our audience and people who are here today, thank you so much, guys, for coming in today for our session. I really thank you guys for your participation. Please do follow AfriMine on the socials. We'll be uploading more videos, which you haven't done in a long time, but we will be uploading some more material. Please engage with that material. And for that, guys, I say thank you so much to everyone, and have a lovely week, Mr. Anthony. Thank you so much once again, Mr. Anthony. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Nice meeting you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
Thank you very much for the wonderful presentation, Mr. Anthony.
You're welcome. Very welcome.